when I came originally from Israel, I've been here for now since 2003. Permanent. I came to the U.S. During those years when I was growing up. My brother used to live in New York for almost 20 years. So I've been most of my adult life now in the U.S. So I've been here for almost 20 years, on and off. And I basically moved to the U.S. In 2003. For good, right? So since I was a kid, I was coming back, and again, like growing up for me was like all about the American films and the movies that gave me inspiration. That's what I knew. I didn't know anything about psychology growing up. I didn't know anything about success. I didn't know. I mean, I knew that I like those things. I like the nice lifestyle that I saw those celebrities and those actors, that lifestyle that they have, right? And I had a time in Israel when I had the opportunity to come to the US. So, starting out, I came in with $800, man. I came in with $800. I had like a rough time in Israel, and my father just said, you know what, like you don't want to go to school, like you don't want to get a job. He bought me a flight ticket, my father, and he sent me to America and said, you know what, just go to America. Maybe like my father, for some reason, he knew that there is a lot of more opportunities, I guess, in America. For some reason, my father knew. I didn't know. I actually didn't know. Growing up, I got inspired by all those American films, but I didn't think about success. It's not something that I was motivated back then to go. I didn't came to America, to become successful in a way that I was thinking like, oh, I want to make a lot of money and so forth. I was inspired, man. I wanted that lifestyle, right? But not necessarily I wanted to work for it. Not necessarily I knew what I wanted. So when I came to the US, right, if you can imagine, and by the way, like most people, in this planet, I didn't know what I want to do, right? So I started that journey discovering, myself in a way and what I want in life. So it took me many years to understand that, wanting success, it can be a general term, right? You can, it's not about like being successful in one specific, profession. It's about being successful, period. So when I got to that point that it's like a lot of people in life, they look for something they love to do. Everybody's got that subject, right? Everybody tells you, do what you love and the money will follow. So for me, it was not about, for years, I believed that, for me to be successful, I have to do what I love. And basically I told myself that story. And when you're looking for something specific, you think it's going to be very magical, and you're going to have butterfly flying around, and you're going to all of a sudden get that feeling that is very, very, very special. And here you are, a successful person, right? But the reality is that success is filled with a lot of hard work, many, many years of trial and error, until you actually understand what you want. And for some people it's easier, for some people it's harder. It may take a long time to actually get there. But I mean, you can start, believe it or not, today to decide what you want, right? You just have to make a decision. And by the way, you can make a decision and later on you can change it, but you want to make a decision for the next 12 months to focus on something, to aim at something, to have a goal in mind that you can continue moving forward towards, that eventually if you decide to change it, you can, but at least you can go with confidence and try to create those goals and make sure things are happening. I started to explore different businesses when I in my first days, I guess in the early days, and I actually started in Venice Beach in 2000. Forgot it was like 2003, 2004. So I started selling toys like remote control cars in Venice Beach on the boardwalk, where the famous Venice Beach boardwalk, when everybody walks And I was like that sales guy, man, on the beach, and I said, like, check it out, the best toy in town. And I was like screaming and barking like roof, roof, like crazy. And I was like, I was a showman, man. I was like creating attraction. So I was like, grabbing those like toys and I was selling like crazy. And you know what? I started making like $1,000 a day, which was like a lot of money, for, in those days, especially for me, I was like 20, 23, 24 years old. I mean, $1,000 a day, I mean, it was not pretty bad, So all I wanted to do when I finished work, it was so hot, working in Venice Beach, especially in the summer, and I got like a beautiful tan, man. Like I got, it was like living my dream, right? Waking up at like 9, 10 a.m., going to the beach, basically, setting up my table, selling toys, looking at the beach. Basically, my view, like all day view was, the beach, right? Like, in Venice Beach, it was gorgeous, right? And I was making money. So what else you want, right? I was with a tank top, with my shorts, selling toys. Life was good, man. I didn't think about success. I was thinking about, having a good time, and that's another thing. Like you get to a certain position in life that, it's not about the money. It's about living life and experience things. And you do need to have it because a lot of people, they get into a commitment like marriage or something like that when they are too young. And eventually, they want to explore. So you need to go through that journey of actually experience life until you can actually become ready for success, because success, it can be hidden in a commitment. Okay, so commitment and dedication and all those things and the obligation, right? That's part of success. That's part of success because guess what? A person that doesn't have any responsibility and is not committed to anything is not going to experience a lot of success because they don't have many reasons. So for me, one of my reasons were, I was 25. I met, the mother of my child at the time, and things start happening, start dating, and all of a sudden, after a couple of years, after a year, I mean, my ex-girlfriend at the time, she got pregnant. So I was like basically, I was planning to become a father, right? And we went to New York. We decided to go to New York. My brother was in New York at the time, and my brother was 20 years working real estate at the time. And I was thinking, what, I'm gonna try real estate. And the Venice Beach deal was like, come on, I did it for like 5 years at that time. It's been, I was like 26 now, so I've been kind of jumping, kind of moving forward like a couple of years later, and I was already kind of working on Venice for like 5 years. So I decided, what, listen, I saw those guys on Venice that's been there for like 20 years, and said, hey, I don't want to be like that fucking guy, right? Like 20 years on Venice Beach, right? I want to move on, right? So I felt I'm ready to go to the next stage. So I said, what can I do? What can I do? Real estate, boom. I went to New York. Now, can you imagine 2008, I'm going to New York. 2008, the worst year in the history of the United States almost, like especially in real estate, right? And I'm going to work in real estate. So if you can imagine, it was like a huge crash. Me and my girlfriend at the time, the mother of my child, we tried to work with my brother in New York, and I didn't make any money, right? Real estate were crashing. I didn't like New York anyway, by the way. I don't like New York. So they say if you like LA, you don't like New York sometimes. And sometimes the opposite. Like people that like New York, they don't like LA, and people that like LA, they don't like New York. So there is something into it. Manhattan is beautiful, but it's like more like, listen, I always say living somewhere and being a tourist somewhere is two different things, right? Being a tourist is fun anywhere. As long as you get some cash and you're going to spend it, it's fun. But if you live to live there, New York can be very, very tough. So I'm not saying like you have to be tough. I'm saying it's like, it's a different level. You have to get used to it, right? It's not for everybody. So I don't like, the cold weather. I don't like the snow. New York was not for me. Just basically the end of story, right? So anyhow, my girlfriend got pregnant. My girlfriend at the time, she got pregnant at my brother's house, right? And how we found out, I had an accident with my car at the time, and the car was total lost. And she went to the hospital to do a checkup, and I mean she knew she pregnant at the time, but that's when I saw my baby, my son, for the first time. I remember that, right? So anyway, I decided that, listen, we have to go back to LA. And that's why even before I came to the Bay Area and opened my business, we're talking about many, many years ago. I'm 39. That was like 12 years ago, basically. So what, like 20, it was like, whatever, 20, 27, 28, right? 26. So we decided to go back to LA. So I sold all my stuff, like all the stuff that I bought, with my credit cards. So the thing is, another special point is that also learn about finance. So I used to, like in Israel, for example, that's another point that people don't know. In Israel, you don't have credit cards. So when I came to America, especially in the old days, in 2005, 2006, it was very easy to get credit cards in the US. Like you would call to the bank off the record, sitting in the restroom, right? Like literally calling to the bank, hey, can you give me, can you increase my credit line? And bam, you would get another 20, 30 grand, right? So money was kind of like flowing easily. Mortgage was super easy. People would buy real estate with no money down. So things was going up and up and up, right? People, like, the crash was coming, right? Because things was going so much, basically the balloons, right? Like the balloon was created. And so I sold all my stuff in Craigslist, everything I got. I didn't have a car, so I managed to buy a flight ticket. We went back to LA. And I managed, and that time we didn't make money. I didn't pay the credit cards anymore. I couldn't pay the credit cards debt. So now I had like $100,000 of credit card debts on top of it, right? So, I managed to lease a car. I managed to buy a car, from Toyota. And we literally, I had an option to go back to Israel or to go work, for a regular job, like 9 to 5 kind of job, right? Or to go back to Venice selling toys. So can you imagine, like, me, my ex-girlfriend, pregnant, and now she's like already like, maybe in the third, fourth, fifth, I don't remember, it was like a few months, like maybe 6 months before my son was born. She was like, it's always like kind of progress in her pregnancy. And I decided, you know what, I don't want to get a 9 to 5 job. That's the worst, man. I prefer sleeping in my car. And I said, I prefer sleeping in my car to get a fucking 9 to 5 job. So we slept in the car literally for months. We made some money. I went to Venice Beach again. I was back selling toys. We scrapped, and the business was changed, obviously, in those times. It was not like the $1,000 a day anymore. It was like $100, $50, literally like, dollar to dollar. Like, people were not spending money at that time, especially not on Venice Beach Boardwalk, right? So, long story short, so we were basically sleeping in the car for months. And I didn't give up. I realized that, if I'm going to be successful in the US, I cannot give up. And that's one of the things, like, I see it even in my industry, in my business. I see a lot of young people starting out, and they wishing it would be easier. They wishing that they're looking for something they love to do, or they're looking for an easy way, an easy route. And they start working in the business, and after like a couple of months, they just give up and just go. So I always believe that you have to go down with the ship. And for me, it was not because I was so sophisticated and I had like such a huge plan. I knew that a 9 to 5 job, it's impossible for my lifestyle, because for me, for my psychology, my mindset, it's about the lifestyle that you want to create. And that's the bottom line. Like, you have to decide what type of lifestyle do you want. What do you want to get in this life? What do you want to be? What type of lifestyle do you want? This is success. Success is like whatever it means to you. Whatever success means to you is like, do you want to sleep until 9 a.m. or you want to sleep until 1 p.m. or you want to wake up at 5 a.m., right? You have to decide what works for you best. And as you get more successful and with time goes by, you kind of realize that sometimes, like, there is some things that you prefer, actually, like, that's going to be your lifestyle. You have to create your dream lifestyle, right? So I decided I'm not gonna get the job. I'm gonna sleep in my car, and that's what I did, man. And it was very, very rough, very, very tough. You know, for months and months, and that was before I started in the construction industry, just before. And as a Jewish person, I was looking for some help. I searched for help, and my girlfriend was like, we about to have a child in a few months, and we looked for some help, and fortunately enough, my girlfriend was connecting with one of the rabbis in LA, one of the rabbi in the community, in the Jewish community, and I talked to the rabbi, I explained to him my situation and so forth, and the rabbi borrowed me some money, to put some gas in the car. We managed to get a little guest house in with a beautiful Jewish person that kind of helped us out and gave us a cheap rent and so forth, and we got that place, and then I started to look around, what I'm gonna do. I have to get a job, but again, I didn't want to get the traditional 9 to 5 job or work per hour. So I say, okay, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? What I do best? Sell. So I was looking for a sales position, and in the industry community, I mean, for some reason, like, and that's kind of also an interesting situation. A lot of my clients ask me why there is so many Israeli in the construction industry, right? So I tell them, because we built the pyramid in Egypt, right? So no, but seriously, there is a lot of Israeli in the industry, especially in Los Angeles, because in Israel, listen, it's hard work, it's a lot of dedication, and not everybody is suited for that position, for that job. So I started working the construction industry for one of the pioneers in the industry at that time. That was like over 15 years ago now, and I started to learn construction. And I got into sales, I got into psychology, and I realized that as a salesperson, regardless of what you sell, you need to have a huge motivation. You need to have huge inspiration, because 80% of success is motivation, is inspiration, is basically psychology, and 20% is the skills, is know what to do and how to do and when to do and why to do. And for me, I was very lucky being a talented salesperson. I was talented, but I didn't make a decision that I'm going to focus on, I was not born and somebody told me, oh, as a baby, you're going to be a contractor. So I was basically looking for a way to pay the bills and create my own schedule, because I didn't want to get a regular job, and go to the office per se at 8 or 9 a.m. I wanted to be flexible, right? I wanted to be independent. So I was thinking, hey, sales, it's up to me, right? I can decide my own hours, right? I was thinking like that. And if I want to work later during the day, or if I want to start early, it's up to me to create my own time. So for me, sales was like the key that I can say, okay, I can, I know I can sell. I believe in myself, right? That I can sell, and I'm talented. I can make it happen. And I did. I started working in the sales industry, selling construction, selling home improvement services, and that's how I started in the business and started, learning the business. So I got into the construction industry, and I started to learn construction and learn all those, skills and abilities and what to say about the product and so forth. But the point that changed for me, the entire thing was, understanding that. The success is not about the skills. It's about years of experience, and it takes, they say it takes 10,000 hours or 7 years to get to the top of the business. But when you can be the most successful person. You can it's more than just hard work. It's really to really have a specific goal, a specific mission, and a huge motivation for a specific specific one thing that you do better than anybody else. It's like when you do that thing, like I became so good in what I do, that when I'm in that position, when I'm meeting the client, I have that knowledge and I have the ability and I have the skills, and in that moment there is no questions. It's like when you're finding that thing that you know when you're doing it, it's like there is no questions. You are relentless. You know exactly what to do. You don't need to ask for permission, and you get the job done. And that takes time. It takes time to get to that point. So what we're going to talk about, it's how to program yourself to a way, how to prepare yourself, I should say, to become that person that when you choose that specific thing that you want to do, you become the best in that specific thing, and you're not competing with anybody else. There is no competition. Competition is out of the equation, right? It's like you are the guy, you are the girl for the mission. It's like you get the key, baby, right? There is no competition, there is no questions. You just get the job done.